What is going on, everybody? And I heard something very cool on the radio this morning while I was driving to work, and I think you all would probably find it pretty cool as well, and I'm here to share it with you all. So, apparently, at the Strong Museum in Rochester, New York, they actually have set up a wing for a video game Hall of Fame, and its first class has been announced recently. I think that is a very, very cool idea. And I've always dreamed that somebody out there somewhere would construct a building and make like a video game museum showing off old games, old artifacts, and just basically going over the history of gaming and actually letting you see all these artifacts firsthand. I always thought somebody should do that. Unfortunately, nobody has done that yet. Hopefully, this is kind of like a step towards that. And if not, then I guess this will have to do because it's still really, really cool. And I'm here to basically go over the games that were actually picked for the first class of the Hall of Fame, and to also talk about the games that were nominated but did not get picked for the first class. So, alright, let's go over the first class. First off, we have Pong. Definitely agree with this choice. Pong is the first recognizable actual home console video game in history. I don't think it's the first ever video game that was ever created. I could be wrong. I remember reading somewhere many, many years ago that there was something else that was created first. But I think Pong might have been the first home console game. But it's definitely the first video game that most people remember existing. And the game is pretty simple, and it was very entertaining. It can still be entertaining today. It's just simple gameplay. Simple, simple, simple. And I definitely agree with the choice. Next up, we have Pac-Man. Another good choice. Pac-Man is probably one of the most recognizable arcade games in history. Not only is it challenging, but it's also really fun. And unlike a lot of games from back then, it actually showed off a lot of variety of colors, and it was just basically different. And then of course it spawned Miss Pac-Man, and then of course it also spawned other games, and he's been a recognizable video game character ever since. It also spawned a horrible cartoon, which we will not get into. Okay, next up we have Doom. I definitely agree with this choice. Doom is probably one of the first recognizable first-person shooter games. It is probably the game that started first-person shooter games. I think Wolfenstein might have come before Doom. I could be wrong, but Doom is the game that people remember most. I mean, there's Wolfenstein, Quake, and Doom. But like I just said, Doom is the one people remember most, mostly because it was also available on the home consoles as well. I remember it being on the Super Nintendo. And Doom is a really good game. It's a really solid first-person shooter. It's got a lot of really good horror elements in the game. It's very cryptic, and people still play it to this day. It definitely made its mark in the industry. And of course, it started the whole first-person shooter craze, and nowadays there's first-person shooters everywhere. Can't seem to escape first-person shooters. Next up, we have Tetris. Now, although I am not personally a fan of Tetris myself, I can definitely understand why Tetris is very popular. My mom is a huge fan of Tetris. I remember back when we first got the regular Nintendo, the NES, I had to wait to play it because my mom was playing Tetris all the freaking time. And she also played Dr. Mario, which is basically Tetris with a Mario theme. So, while I'm not a huge fan myself, I can definitely see its appeal, its popularity, and it did inspire a lot of puzzle games. So, it definitely deserves being here. Alright, next up we have World of Warcraft. I definitely agree with this choice. there are very few games that have had the impact that World of Warcraft has had. Not only has it inspired a lot of other MMORPGs that have come after World of Warcraft, people are still playing World of Warcraft to this very day as almost like it's a new game. It continuously spawns expansions, and people have even gotten married because of World of Warcraft. People met online in World of Warcraft, ended up meeting and then getting married and having a family. That says a lot. World of Warcraft's almost like another extended life. So, while I never got into it myself, I tried many years ago. I tried to get into it and I just really couldn't. I can definitely see why it belongs in the Hall of Fame. So, and last, but definitely not least, we have Super Mario Brothers. Definitely deserves its spot in the Hall of Fame. Because this is most people's first ever video game they've ever played. It's my first video game I've ever played. The game is a lot of fun. Even to this day, it's a lot of fun to play. It's still quite challenging. And Mario became a successful franchise because of this. And not only that, if it wasn't for Super Mario Brothers and the regular Nintendo, who knows what would have happened in the state of video gaming in the United States back then. Because the state of video gaming in the United States was not great before the NES and Super Mario Bros. Came out, because the crash of 1983, because of that horrible E.T. game, and Atari went under. Well, they didn't really go under, but their stock plummeted. And pretty much console gaming in America was dead. And then Nintendo and Super Mario Bros. Came in and saved it. So, yes, Super Mario Bros. Definitely deserves its spot in the Hall of Fame. So, now we are going to go over the games that were nominated but did not make the cut. And I'm going to talk about whether I agree with them actually being in the Hall of Fame eventually, or they shouldn't be in it all. So, let's check it out here. Okay, Angry Birds was nominated. Hell effing no. I cannot emphasize that enough. Hell effing no. Me personally, I don't consider mobile games video games. I consider mobile games separate from video games, because mobile games are generally designed to kill time while you're waiting for something, like whether you're at the auto shop or you're at the laundromat or whatever you're doing. You're just playing it to kill time. It's not like you're gonna go out of your way to solely play a mobile game like people do with console and PC gaming. We as video gamers, we go out of our way to play some of these games. They are not just solely here to kill time. So, no, I consider mobile games different. Now, if somebody wants to make a mobile game Hall of Fame, then yes, Angry Birds should definitely be eligible for that. But for the video game Hall of Fame, hell no. Hell no. Okay, the other game that was nominated was FIFA. I don't agree with this. And the reason I don't agree with this is, to me, FIFA is just a yearly sports franchise. Now, I'm not attacking the game, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but my point is, if you're going to include FIFA, why don't you include the other games? Why don't you include MLB? Why don't you include Madden? Why don't you include NBA? If you're going to include one sports franchise, you have to include them all. So, I can't really necessarily agree with this. I mean, I don't know why FIFA was nominated over the other sports franchises. I don't see why it's more special than the other sports franchises, because I consider all of the sports franchises the exact same. So, okay. Anyway, next up was The Legend of Zelda. God, yes, I agree with this so freaking much. Legend of Zelda should eventually be in the Hall of Fame. Not only because Legend of Zelda is one of my favorite franchises of all time, it definitely made its mark in this industry, and there are very few franchises where people almost adore every single entry in the franchise. You can't say that about a lot of franchises, because even some of the best franchises, they got probably one or two games that people really don't care for. Legend of Zelda doesn't really have that. Even the Zelda games that people find maybe not as good as other games, they're still really good, and they still have that Zelda charm. Like, for example, I don't care for Zelda Wind Waker that much, but I still say it's a good game, and it's still got that Zelda charm to it, even though it's not personally one of my favorites. And the first Zelda, what can I really say about that? It inspired a lot of other action-adventure games to be created after it came out, and there was so much cryptic stuff in The Legend of Zelda that it made you want to keep playing it over and over again. There's still cryptic stuff in that game that people probably still don't know. Hell, I've seen videos of people playing it, and they're bombing holes and burning trees of things that I never knew you could. It's amazing. And I will still always cherish the memories that I have with my grandma when we would actually create Zelda maps. We would create the dungeon maps on these graph papers because, hey, anybody watching this who wasn't around back then, we did not have strategy guides on the internet. We had to figure shit out for ourselves. So we had to make our own maps and our own guides, and we did. And I will always cherish those memories. So yes, definitely I agree with The Legend of Zelda going in. Okay, next up is Minecraft. I understand Minecraft's popular. I understand its appeal. I can't really say I think it should go in the Hall of Fame because even though it's popular and even though it's a creative game, did it really leave a mark on the industry so much so that you would consider it a Hall of Fame worthy game? I can't say that myself. I can't. So, okay, next up we have the Oregon Trail. I agree with this. Anybody who was gaming around back when the Oregon Trail was at its initial popularity will be able to tell you how addicting the Oregon Trail was and how people back in school would try to finish their schoolwork early so they could run to computer lab, or if they were already in computer lab, just finish whatever they're doing quickly just so they could play the Oregon Trail. I mean, that should tell you a lot right there. And not only that, the Oregon Trail is a really fun game, and it's also a really challenging game. I'll be honest with you, I still have not beaten the Oregon Trail, and I don't think I ever will. It's a very, very challenging game, but that's what made it fun. The challenge of it was fun. So, because of that, yes, I definitely agree that it should go in. Next up is Pokemon. I agree with this as well. The cool thing about Pokemon was that it was basically a JRPG designed for children because there was probably a lot of kids, and myself was included in this, that would look at JRPGs like Final Fantasy and go, you know, that looks kind of boring. Why do you want to sit there all day and just kill enemies for money and experience points? That just doesn't seem interesting because a lot of kids just want to play fast-paced action games and stuff they can relate to. Well, Pokemon was like that JRPG that was designed for kids. It was very simple, but it still had good gameplay that anybody can get into it. And while I'm not into Pokemon anymore, the last time I was actually playing Pokemon was Pokemon Crystal and the Gold and Silver era. Sorry about that. So I would say I guess you would call that the second season of Pokemon. That was the last time I played. So even though I'm not playing the games anymore, I still can't deny the impact it has made on the industry and the fact that they're still making Pokemon games to this day and people are still playing the hell out of them. So that says a lot right there. Okay, next up is The Sims. I don't think I can agree with this. Now, I'm not attacking The Sims. I'm not saying The Sims isn't a popular franchise. I just don't see The Sims as a good enough franchise to really be considered a Hall of Fame worthy franchise. I can't really say that. And honestly, for me, I had the most fun playing The Sims is when I was messing with them and I was actually ruining Sims' lives just for entertainment. That was the only time I found the game entertaining. But a lot of people enjoy the franchise. I just don't see it as a Hall of Fame worthy franchise. So, okay, next up we have Sonic the Hedgehog, and this is probably going to cause some controversy here. No, I don't agree. It should go in. Put down your pitchforks and your torches if you're holding them up. I will explain why. I loved the early Sonic games, and I understand that Sonic was basically the mascot of a company that was probably Nintendo's best competitor back then. They gave Nintendo a run for their money, and Sonic was their flagship, just like Mario was Nintendo's flagship. But when you compare the Sonic games, and you actually look at the Sonic games as games, especially when you compare it to the Mario games, they lack the depth and the content of the Mario games. And the main problem of that is because the gimmick of Sonic the Hedgehog, the gimmick of just being very fast. Because the game was designed at just going through it as fast as possible, you never got to appreciate the level design, the graphics, the enemies. I mean, can anyone really name any Sonic enemies? I can name Mario enemies: Koopa Troopa, Paratroopa, Chargin' Chuck, Lakitu, Birdo, Shy Guy, Babam. I could go on. I actually know the Mario enemy names because you actually had to fight them and get around them, and you encountered them enough that you just remembered their names. Anybody can name me any Sonic enemies? I mean, I know there's Dr. Robotnik / Egghead, whatever you would like to call him, because he was a boss, though. I'm talking about regular enemies. So you never got to appreciate that stuff because you were just trying to go through the levels as fast as possible. But I still will not deny how much fun the early games are. But even if we just take that into account, we have to also take into account, since we're talking about, I guess we want to talk about the franchise in general, latter part of Sonic's history is not pretty. It's not pretty at all. So, but if we want to talk about just the first game itself, because I'm assuming that we're just talking about... See, that's the thing I don't understand about these nominees. Are we talking about the franchise or the one specific game? Now, maybe someone can come on here and clarify that for me, but I don't know if they mean franchise or game. Or, like, just one specific game. If we're just talking about the first specific Sonic game, then I could probably agree with it being in. But if we're talking about the franchise as a whole, I can't agree with it. Sorry, I can't. Based on the fact that what hurt Sonic was actually its gimmick, in my opinion, and then his latter history isn't pretty. It was so ugly to a point where people actually wanted the character to die so that no more games could be made and butcher its legacy. So, last but not least, Space Invaders. I'm not sure about this. I understand that Space Invaders is a historic game. It is a very popular game, but is it really any more popular than a lot of other games from the Atari days back then, like Centipede, Pitfall, and all these other games? Is it really any more popular than those games? Did it really leave its mark in history, like a lot of other games have done? Honestly, I can't answer that. I can't say no or yes to. I can't say no or yes to that. I just simply don't know. I have to really think about it. So, okay. That's about it. And once again, I think this was a really cool idea of the Strong Museum to do. And maybe one day this will lead to an actual video game museum being built. And I would definitely love to visit that one day. So, alright. Let me know your thoughts on this video. Let me know your thoughts on the nominees and the actual first class of the Hall of Fame, and just let me know what you think. So, alright, I will talk to you all later. Have a good one.